Hello, everyone, and welcome back to Pokemon Black. It's time to, get a move on out to Victory Road and challenge the Elite Four and all that jazz, because that's what you do in a Pokemon game. So, oh, hi, Professor Juniper.
What are you following me around?
I mean, this country is laid out in one roadway, so it's entirely possible we
It's
just keep
essentially a
bumping into
giant
each other.
circle.
Yeah.
Oh man.
Okay, I'm gonna say right now, this end game section is, I think, probably the best end game stretch in a Pokemon game. I think. Well,
Are we talking about the Victory Road?
Route 10
Sequence
too, because
yeah.
Route 10, although it's short, the music is like A plus fantastic in here. I think Area Zero in Scarlet Violet comes very, very close because that's legitimately the best part of the game. And like no joke, raises the game a whole letter grade in my eyes.
And if
I
you're
love
playing
Area
it on a
Zero.
Switch 2, you can actually play it at the intended frame rate. Huzzah.
Dude, I've been seriously tempted to go back to Scarlet and Violet to like have it play like a real video game. Also, I really want to play a Pokemon game where I can use a Marill early on because I've never really used it because it's only water type in Gen 2 and it's like not great. But then it gets fairy type later on, but it's also just never available early in any of the games until Scarlet Violet. So I kind of want to do that.
Oh, so we're going inside for this sandstorm, but not the last one.
Well, this is a rainstorm.
this
It's
Was
totally
that sandstorm?
random.
That was rain. I'm actually curious as to what that place looks like on a stream. Like, what's the bit rate? Dude, fucking screen.
It's probably terrible. I don't know if it's quite as bad as Bubble Man from Mega Man 2, where you just cannot watch any YouTube video that's not at probably 1080p 60 frames per second for Mega Man 2 and see what's going on in Bubble Man's stage. Oh, it's gone.
But anyway, for context, what I was referring to for people who haven't played Scarlet and Violet yet, Area Zero, the final area of the game, it's beautiful, but it has this kind of like effect going on that what it does is it has this like sort of fog throughout the entire thing. It's like a mystical looking fog. It's pretty. Unfortunately, if you're playing on the original Switch, it tanks the frame rate throughout the entire dungeon. So you're running around at 15 frames per second the entire time.
15 frames. Wow, your Switch was working overtime.
Yeah, it does kind of dip below that quite a lot of the time.
I need to load it back up and see like how well it runs and like how hard it pushes the Switch 2. Like if the Switch 2 is going like the entire time you're playing it.
I don't think it does. I don't think it pushes the Switch 2 that hard, but it is clearly a much beefier system than the Switch 1 to the point where stuff actually runs properly. So that's good to see. I've popped it in recently just to pick up my shiny legendaries because they're doing that now.
Oh, wonderful.
And it seems to run pretty well, yeah.
That's good. Yeah, I want to give Scarlet Violet another chance because again, I was kind of like for the whole adventure up until the very end, I thought it was fine. It was just kind of like missing something. Like the overworld just didn't have much going on in it. I found like there was Pokemon variety, which I appreciated. So you were always finding like Pokemon that were new, but like aside from like the one area with all the canyons and the one town that had the old 8-bit sprites as like mystical fossils and architecture, I can't really remember any of the like iconography or areas in Gen 9 at all. So
I remember the characters more than anything else.
Yeah, no, the characters I think are genuinely pretty good. We've gone over this in this playthrough more than once, so I won't harp on how I like the main trio a lot again. But I do, and I think that having something grounded in the story like that helps a good bit. It was the same thing with Gen 7 too. I like the main cast of characters in Gen 7 a lot. And that's part of what elevates that game's story for me as well. I think it's when, like, in Gen 8, the main kind of group of people is pretty weak. Like, Hop is kind of a nothing character. Oh, God. Who's the dickwad with the fairy Pokemon? Who, like, is trying to be a mean rival, but fails incessantly?
I never, like, committed his name to memory. I always just called him Floopy Hair.
Yeah, Floopy. He looks
That's
like
a weird name.
He looks like he's 53, you know. Even
What's
though
that birth certificate look like?
The guy who was such an absolute fuck up that he actually got kicked out of the Pokemon League halfway through the story.
Yeah, but like, despite that's not what people mean though when they said, "Oh, I want to go back to having a mean rival," from Gen 1 and 2. Like, what they mean is they want somebody who's competitive with you and who, like, them being an asshole made you kind of endeavor to want to better them, basically. Like, because that's what happened with Blue and Silver. Didn't really happen with whoever that dickhead is.
Yeah. The thing is, like, when the protagonist is so simplistic in their silent protagonistness, and the main theme of the game is always basically the same thing. You need to love your Pokemon. There are only so many different ways that you can create a foil for that.
I think that they could definitely experiment with having a more fleshed out main character in a Pokemon game. I'm thinking in the way of like Dragon Quest 8 or 11, where you have a silent protagonist in those games, but that character is still a character. It is not just a stand-in for the player. Like, it's just a silent character versus, you know, someone who is truly a blank slate like the Pokemon main character is often meant to be.
Yeah, but to do that, they'd have to take another swing at having a serious story for your protagonist to bounce off of, you know? And it's obvious that since Black and White 1, they haven't really wanted to do that much.
They've tried, like, they flirted with it. I brought this up before. Gen 7 has a very, like, dark story when you look at the themes, and so does Gen 9 for that matter. I think the problem is often that they focus on the wrong things.
The thing is that like, they have serious stories toward the end, but they don't open on that, and they don't dwell on it during the early game, and it's that early game that is most important to establishing that your silent protagonist is a character in and of themselves. You can't spend 60 hours in an RPG having your character be a nothing character, and then say in the last 5 hours of the game, oh no, they have a serious, complex personality that relates to the story that's going on, and they've had that all along, I promise you.
I mean, I don't think anybody wants another Pokemon Coliseum where, like, it's effectively a Shadow the Hedgehog-ified, you know, in Image Comics 90s kind of deal, you know?
We don't need to do that, no, but, like, we've had enough fleshed out silent protagonists in JRPGs by now that, like, you know, all people know how to do it, they just choose not to.
Yeah, I agree. Like, we don't need to have, like, it be edgy dark like the Pokemon Coliseum games are, but you certainly can, I think, you know, lean towards something a little less.
You say Pokemon Coliseum, but mine immediately goes to what is it? Pokemon Reborn. It's a fan game. It's
there's the Pokemon Grimdark fan game community is brimming with life and always will be, because, you know, take thing for children and make it not for children is the lowest possible hanging fruit that's ever existed.
Well, I wouldn't call it low hanging fruit in this case, because the game I'm thinking of is actually, like, really in depth, well made. The developers do have a mentality that I disagree with, they cut my favorite Pokemon from the early game completely because someone found a way to use that Pokemon in such a way as to get through the game easier. And, heaven forbid that their hyper difficult Pokemon fan game have a strategy that works in it. But, but
What Pokemon is that, may I ask?
it's Gardevoir, Ralts.
Oh, really?
The Ralts line. You used to be able to get it pretty early on in the game, and they cut it completely until end game because at the point you could get it, it could factor into a strategy that made the game slightly easier. But anyway, and there were several Pokemon cut like that. It's the one thing that I hold against those developers, but the game as a whole is actually really good.
I mean, so like, to like dive into that a little bit. Yes, it is important that you keep the game from becoming mindless. And this is a complaint lodged at Pokemon a lot of the time, where it's just like, oh, you can overlevel your starter and just win the game. Like, okay, yeah. So like, you don't want to like encourage that, but with that said, you also don't want your game to just be a miserable grind fest. Like, you should put options into your game so that the player can find those options and then win.
Yeah, the thing about Pokemon Reborn is that it's a very narrowly balanced kind of game. The only real variety you have in your Pokemon choice throughout the main adventure is that at the start, you get your pick of every possible starter from all the generations up to the point Reborn was made. But that just means you have like a million different fire, plant, and water Pokemon to pick at the start, It doesn't really matter so much which one you pick. Half of the fire ones are firefighters. So it's just like, pick the one that looks nice, I guess.
Yeah, it's like one of those things where that's not really the point of a Pokemon game a lot of the time. And granted, fan games are often designed to, branch out from what the Pokemon main series is doing. But like, Pokemon was not intended to be like a tightly designed and tightly balanced linear JRPG along the lines of like Chrono Trigger or Final Fantasy IV. It's meant to be closer to something like Final Fantasy VI or Dragon Quest, where your options are expansive and you get to choose. And it's more just it's less about optimizing your available choices and more just making the best out of what you chose initially. Oh man, best Victory Road entrance in the series. I love this so much. There's something about when in a video game they add the instrument layers on top of each other over and over again as you get further into a level that just like makes the dopamine flow like a waterfall. It just I love this entrance to the Victory Road so much. And in Black and White 2, they ruin it by having a bunch of gates that are tiny and you just go through them all and it takes 10 seconds. It sucks.
You know what's interesting about this this Victory Road thing though is that they still do that thing where you need individual badges for individual points along the road, but they're all like, but they're all at the end of a route where you had no choice but to get all the badges before you got here.
Yeah, like if you're playing Gen 1, you can go back to Viridian City and try to walk up, and then if you have like 6 badges, you can walk all the way up to the 6th guy, and then when you get to the 7th guy, he'll say no, get the volcano badge, and you have to come back later. So, like, that part, yes, but it's more just the build-up to it that I love.
But the other thing about Victory Road in that case, I think, is that you had little dungeon chunks between each badge. So
it's more just like a big straight line.
Yeah,
it's
but
not
you
that
can,
much more involved than this.
But you can, like, catch Pokemon along the way, So
a few. It's nothing really too exciting, but you can. You are right.
The point is that each badge opens up an area where you can run around and battle in and catch Pokemon and grind and everything. So there is something there. Also, I think there are some items to find.
There are a few TMs and stuff, yeah.
How far into Victory Road do you need to get to reach Moltres? Is it like at the end?
So you do not get into the main cave until you get all 8 badges. So you have to have all 8, and then he's at almost the very end.
Right. Okay.
At that point. But yeah, best victory road in the series, in my opinion. I love this dungeon so much. It's actually like an involved, interesting traversal challenge versus just like dark rooms and pushing boulders.
Push all the fucking rocks to it now.
I like how the Pokemon you surf on is even more generic now than it was in Gen 1. Where in Gen 1, every Pokemon you surfed on transformed into a Lapras for some reason.
No, that was Gen 2.
Was it Gen 2? I thought it was
Yeah, in Gen 1, it's
Gen,
just
Gen 1 was a seal.
Yeah.
Oh.
It kind of looks like a Kirby, honestly, because it's just like a smiley ball with arms. I can never tell it was supposed to be Seal or Dugong, because it doesn't have the little horn on it.
I forgot Seal existed.
Yo, that's because Seal
That's
is
fucked up,
probably
Lewis.
top 10 most forgettable Pokemon in the series. All right, guys, we gotta make our Seal themed Pokemon. What do we call it?
Oh man, Hop would love this Pokemon. Hop would just throw this Pokemon into his team without thinking, and he would start every battle with it.
I don't know why they made the gingerbread themed Pokemon have a big fluffy mane of hair, but I do appreciate it because that is one of the cuter ones.
It is a gingerbread sheep. Do you think the wool is made of cotton candy?
I'm pretty sure that's also one of the version exclusives. Like, I think
Yes, it is.
Okay, yeah. Oh wait, no. Yeah, because it's the what's the other one called?
Lilligant.
Lilligant. Lilligant's this gen? I thought it was Gen 7.
No, it was this gen.
Okay. Yeah, I've always liked Lilligant more, so I never really used that one. For a second there, I thought we were watching the the backstory to Tekken, and we were gonna watch this guy throw Kazuya off the cliff. Man, things would be really different if Tekken was actually a Pokemon game.
Where does that stupid idea that lions throw their cubs off cliffs even come from?
I am not sure.
Is that a thing? Is that
You're
where
sure that-
is that where like Mufasa dying in the Stampede came
Maybe
from? In
it
the
comes from
King?
Lion King, yes.
I don't think it was Lion King thing. I think it's just like an old myth that says lions throw their cubs off cliffs to make them stronger or some such. I think it was lions anyway.
Meanwhile, the cub that watches BSC approaches their father later that night and say, Dad, it's not true, son. They're full of shit.
Took you that long to figure it out, huh? But I mean, lions are lazy assholes. They literally sleep 20 hours a day, and the lion dads do no work. They like stand there and roar at something that gets too close to the group every once in a while the women go and hunt, just like in real life. So
What do you mean, just like in real life? Are lions video game characters now?
no, I'm talking about how the deadbeat dad will sit on the TV while the mother does all the work, like in real life.
Yeah. Okay. I mean, I'm pretty sure those two things exist on the same planet Earth, but...
Yeah, I know. That's why I said in real life. Dude, this thing's real cool. I don't know. Maybe I'm just, like, nostalgic for a game that I played when I was 17 years old. But I just think that Gen 5 has a lot of really cool designs. And I feel like they just get shafted a lot because people go, oh, ice cream. Lol, 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 lol. Am I the only one who thinks that?
No, I agree. I like a lot of Gen 5 designs. I just wish that, we got a version of the game that was available to people instead of, $100 for DS versions. Also, I'm just paranoid about the eventual remake because it's going to happen at some point, so.
Yeah. I mean, I just don't know what they'll do. Like, this is probably a part that will end up being terribly outdated once it eventually does come out. And I think that, getting one next year is also, like, not outside the realm of possibility, considering it's an anniversary Pokemon year. But with that said, this is a hard game to remake because I feel like the expectations are different for this than a lot of the other ones. Like, with the Heart Gold and Soul Silver, people kind of just wanted what Fire Red and Leaf Green did. And it was that, but also better because they added a bunch more content, and the content was also way better than the content they added in Fire Red and Leaf Green. Like, Heart Gold and Soul Silver, I think, are still among the best games in the franchise, for good reason. And then when Omega Ruby Alpha Sapphire came out, and it was like, there are mixed feelings on that remake these days. I feel like what people found was that one of the sticking points for people was that the added content was just not very expansive. Like, there was an extra story beat at the end, and that was basically it. So
one of the main things that people didn't like was that it was based on Ruby and Sapphire and not Emerald version.
Yeah. Versus, like, the other remakes. Well, I guess Fire Red Leaf Green were based off of Red and Green, but the yellow stuff would not really add all that much, I don't think. The only real big thing that yellow added was, the cute Pikachu stuff and better sprites.
And also Jesse and James. Ooh.
Yeah, the Jesse and James fights, like, they're in spots where, an added boss fight would be fine, like at the end of Mount Moon and right before Giovanni. The problem is that the fights are all really easy, because I'm pretty sure they only ever have Meowth, Arbok, and
they are. The thing is, only having Weezing, Meowth, and Arbok means that they have slightly more variety than the regular ass Team Rocket grunts you would have fought at those same locations. So, they take away some of the monotony of fighting Team Rocket grunts.
It's more just the novelty of seeing their designs in the actual video game, for me, than anything else. Ironically enough, I think Let's Go, in terms of new content, did a better job than Fire Red and Leaf Green.
Yeah.
Like, Fire Red and Leaf Green are still the better games by a fairly substantial margin. But, like, the kind of, like, added fights and the bigger tie-in to the Gen 2 Rocket storyline, and the secret green fight and whatnot, like, that was all really cool.
The additional establisher cutscenes for the Elite Four, that did give things some flavor.
Like, you could easily make an argument that the Sevi Islands had more content, but that content's bad, so I don't want to play it.
Wasn't the Sevi Islands basically cut content from the original game?
I know that the idea
Supposedly.
the idea for the Sevi Islands was in the original game. I don't know how close those, like, area designs were to what ended up in Fire Red Leaf Green. Because, like, Moltres was going to have its own dungeon, which ended up getting scrapped, which is why he's in the Elite Four. The problem with the Sevi Islands is just that they're very restrictive. Like, there's not a ton to explore, and the routes are all really small and just really annoying. Like, you need a bunch of different HMs, so you can't just, like, go through with your normal team. You need to, like, specifically have something for Rock Smash and shit, and it's like, I don't want to do this. Please just let me get Moltres and get out of here.
Yeah, that's right. You had to do it in the Game Ultras. I forgot about that.
Yeah, I mean, there are the nice JoJo remixes. That's cool. I do appreciate that. There's also the one cave that doesn't fucking do anything, because they never implemented the feature. It's like, it will only ever have Zubat in it, and then I think it's like you had to go to events to have other random Johto Pokemon spawn in that cave. Something like that. I don't remember the specifics.
I love Empty Room Psych.
Empty Room Psych? Oh, jeez.
There's when something that a room or what have you is placed in the game that doesn't do anything but makes you think it does, but it doesn't.
How about in Ultimate 8, where they had doors that were meant to lead to places that they never had time to implement, so they're just eternally locked doors that do nothing?
No, God, that would drive me insane.
They didn't just take the door off of the room?
Just paint over it.
Like, Ultima 8 was like at the very start of Origin Systems acquisition into EA, and they were rushed as hell, man. That game is a train wreck.
Are you telling me that when EA buys a company, it ends up fucking over that company's products in the future? Man,
Not even in the future, in the immediate.
Damn.
Dragon Age 2 had the same fucking issue when EA bought BioWare. They had like a year to make a sequel to a game that took 7 years to produce. Jesus.
I know that fans of The Sims have very strong opinions about how EA has handled that franchise too. So, maybe we should just not let EA do things anymore.
Maybe EA should stop buying RPG developers, since they obviously aren't down for the time frame that genre requires. Jesus.
Well, you know what's worse is when there's a room that seems empty and doesn't seem like it does anything, but then it actually does do something. Because, John, you know this game better than I do. In Final Fantasy IV, in the final dungeon, the Pink Puff room, it's just an empty room that's there, right? It's like
there's a singular chest that has an item in it. That's literally it.
Yeah. So you're like, why is there this chest here for this one item? It's just like, oh, you're supposed to run around in this one specific room for this tiny chance to find this one enemy, for this
not even
chance for that enemy to drop a ribbon.
Not even in the room specifically, the topmost 4 tiles above the chest.
What? Excuse me?
Those specific tiles.
How did people find this enemy in the first place?
Because people are bored. It was a time before the internet.
I don't know how bored you were when you were playing video games as a kid, but I certainly didn't run around on every single tile of every single RPG
it wasn't hard to intuit at the time that specific tiles could have different enemy rate encounters. That's how the Peninsula Tower was discovered. It's how RPG Maker on PlayStation explained its encounter system in the tutorial.
Also, you want to know how bored I was? There was a playthrough I had in Final Fantasy IV 2, because when I was a kid it was 2, where I had Cecil by himself and I grinded his HP and levels until he was in the 4 digits in like the first opening hours of the game, because I knew every party member afterwards that's recruited is based off of his HP.
How long did that take you? You could have just beaten the game.
Oh, I'm still grinding today.
In Final Fantasy XII, you can do the same thing with Vaughn at the very beginning of the game. Just grind him up in levels, and everyone who joins you afterward gets a massive boost.
Or you could just play the game, and then they'll get levels when you play the game.
Oh, there's plenty to play in Final Fantasy XII. You can do like 10 hunts before you even commence the story.
Oh my god.
But Ted, we have to find Phoebus in the 4 squares that it's available in. Thankfully, this isn't Ruby and Sapphire, so we don't have to worry about that. So let's see you guys all in the next part of Pokemon Black. Later.